Oh, hello. Welcome to another video. In today's video, which I'm recording for the second time, so apologies if you saw the version with no sound. But in today's video, we're going to try and actually work out how we play Kill Team now. So this is the third video, I guess, that I've made about the Vantage Point FAQ. I made one video where I went all the way through the FAQ, one video where I focused on the Vantage Point FAQ, and now we're talking about the Vantage Point FAQ again. Listen, that last video on Vantage Point FAQ was one of my most popular videos, so if you're here for that content, then good, I've got you. If you want me to move on and start talking about something else soon, I will soon, I promise. Right, let's talk about it. So, as I said, I did a couple of videos a couple of days ago, okay? Briefly, in case this is the first video you're seeing, it's not clear really what Games Workshop's intent was from this errata. What they've done is they've taken these two bullet points here from the Vantage Point trait. The operative cannot use the floor of the Vantage Point as cover or to be obscured, and the operative cannot use parts of the Vantage Point's terrain feature that is lower than the operative as cover or to be obscured. And they've removed from both those bullet points the phrase as cover. So now you can use the floor as cover, and you can use parts of the terrain that are below you as cover if the cover line crosses through them. Makes sense, we think, but maybe not. So I've done my video as to why this lacks a bit of sense. That's the previous video on the channel. If you've not seen that, please do go and check it out somewhere. But I put a poll up in my community section asking, how are you going to actually play with the rule now? I gave three options, and I'm going to go through why I gave the three options that I did, and what the arguments are for each of those three options. Obviously, you know, a lot of people have commented. I asked the same question on a couple of different Discords as well. A lot of people have commented, well, I'm just going to do what my tournament organizer tells me to do, and that's fine if you always play in a tournament setting and you never play casual games. I did put that to somebody who said, well, do you never play casual games? They said, well, my casual games are always tournament practice. So the only problem I have with that answer is, are you now going to wait until your preferred tournament scene comes out with a packet before you play any more Kill Team? Is that what's happening? Because personally, I'm playing a game of Kill Team on Monday. My preferred tournament is the Warhammer World stuff. We don't even know when their next event is, so I'm not going to sit and wait for a packet to find out how I should play my games. Obviously, when that comes out, and if they say it's being played in a certain way, then I'll do my best to play it that way. But until then, I want to play some Kill Team, roll some dice, push some plastic. I want to know how I should be playing the game. Let's look at the three different options. So, the first option is to ignore the FAQ. 33%, exactly a third of people, said they were going to ignore the FAQ. It was trying to solve a non-problem. I'm going to explain the non-problem because I was ignorant of the non-problem when I made my last video. I spent a lot of time on a couple of different Discords and talking to people to try and work out what the problem that Games Workshop was trying to solve might have been. Now, we don't know this was Games Workshop's intent with the rule because they didn't tell us what their intention was. But there was some chat before the FAQ came out about how technically, if you're shooting someone that's on a vantage point with a battlement, if you can successfully argue that your line goes under the battlement, then they're not in cover. Because the rules, as unamended by the errata, say that they can't use parts of the vantage point's terrain feature lower than the operative or the floor as the vantage point to claim cover at all. So if you could sort of trace this line and claim that it was only ever passing under the green line here and then through the floor and never through the actual battlement, you could rob the person on top of the battlements of their cover. Now listen, nobody played it that way, right? In Britain, we have, like, occasionally you'll see like little articles or even little books of compiled, you won't believe this is a law, or strange things that you can do legally. Like the famous example is apparently legal due to some law from like the Middle Ages to shoot a Welsh person from the walls of Chester with a crossbow. And people love to talk about this sort of stuff. Nobody's saying actually going to do it. No, nobody's actually off buying a crossbow and heading to Chester to try and commit murder. That's not anybody's plan. And it's the same with this. People were on Discord and stuff pointing out, oh, technically the rules say this. Isn't that funny anyway, right? Nobody was ever actually advocating for this being a thing you should play. What might have happened then is this conversation has been reported to GW and they've gone, oh, well, we best fix that. And they've tried to fix that specific problem of technically, you can ignore the ramparts on top of a building under the pre-amended rules. Now, if that's what they were trying to solve, if we knew that was what they were definitely trying to solve, then yeah, we should ignore the FAQ. They should redraft the FAQ. They should make it clear that they're trying to solve that particular problem and not change the game more generally. The rules that they've written down don't, I mean, they solve that problem, but they do so much more on top of that. Now, why have Games Workshop, if they are attempting to solve this particular problem, why have they written the rules in this way? Well, one potential idea is that they have a policy or a dogma of trying to correct the rules in an errata with the smallest change possible, so the smallest amount of text added or taken away. If they're trying to do that, if they're trying to make the smallest amount of change to the text possible, then perhaps that's why they ended up in the situation of trying to solve a problem and actually creating about 300 new problems. Now, the thing I want to flag up here as sort of a danger, if you are ignoring this part of the FAQ, and for reference, nobody's talking about ignoring the whole FAQ like all the other changes, just this particular single erratum. If you're ignoring this errata, you are technically not playing Kill Team anymore, right? You're playing, I don't know, Community Team. And the problem with that is, even if you're diverging from a rule set, even if you think that your diversions are totally justified with all the meta information you know about the discussions that were being had prior to the FAQ coming out, you're still diverging, and it still creates a problem, a bit of an alarm bell, if we end up with, you know, London Hammer, Spain Hammer, and an American Hammer all being different things. That's really dangerous for the community. You know, we had a couple of near misses. I know at one point early on, a couple of the big American events were talking about not randomly drawing the tactics cards and letting people choose and things like that. And I'm really against this kind of balkanization, this kind of fracture, because I love being part of a global community where we can all talk about things and have them mean the same thing. But that is the argument, and it holds sway with 33% of respondents for why you would just ignore the FAQ. The middle answer, the floor is a lie. I tried to explain this one in the last video. I got loads of questions in the comments. Why do you think that? Why do you think that? Well, I'm trying to explain it again. I'm not trying to persuade anybody that this is the way that they should play, but what I guess I am trying to persuade you of is that this is the way, this is the most correct way. If you have that particular deontological approach to rules of a game where rules are rules and they are immutable and you play with them for better or worse, then this is how the game is played now. You know, even if they're unintended, the rules are the rules until they're amended again. If you have that perspective, then I believe you're in the situation of wanting to use the FAQ, but believing that flaws like this don't grant cover. The reason I say that is that the FAQ, even though it says the operative cannot use the floor of the vantage point and they've removed to grant cover, implying that it does now grant cover, the floor of the vantage point, if you're defining them as they're defined in the Octarius book, and it's the same in the Chalnath book and any other place where they use these kind of L ruins with a thin floor, if you're using their definitions, then the floor is a vantage point, and vantage point by itself, if we go back to this big screenshot here, vantage point by itself here does not grant cover. Heavy provides cover, light provides cover, vantage point does not. So because the floor here only has the vantage point keyword, it does not define cover. Okay, so go and look at our previous video for more examples of this. Playing this option, use the new rules, but the thin vantage point floors don't provide cover doesn't mean nothing has changed. Although if you play with it this way round, and you play mostly on Octarius, and you mostly do the thing where you deploy your corner pieces facing inwards, then the change is going to be pretty marginal, okay? But if you're going to try and use Morok or Nachmund or some homebrew terrain or containers, then the change is going to be a big deal. Okay, but I am quite sure this is the rules of written state of affairs. I'm kind of shocked about how unpopular it is. Not because it's my preferred outcome of the poll, not because it's what I want to do, but because I'm used to getting pushback from the rules as written people. You know, I'm used to getting people who want to tell me there is an empirical answer to the rule. We should use the empirical answer even if we don't like it. So, kind of shocked that it's only got 22% of support. Although, I will say, maybe this is now a self-fulfilling prophecy because people who like my channel, like me, generally like my take on things, are more likely to respond to my poll, and therefore they're more likely to give me the result that I'm the most sympathetic to, I guess. So that's the other option, that the floor being a lie. Finally then, we could simply define the floor as light cover, okay? So we define the floor as light terrain. Now this is not a house rule in the same way, because even though we've got these little diagrams that tell us what the traits are, these have never been and this was the same argument I made about doors, these are not core rules, okay? These are configurations of terrain that you can choose to use. What it actually says in the rules for setting up a match play game over here, number 5, set up the kill zone. The player set up terrain features. This is done by following the guidelines on page 76 to 80, or by following the configuration specified by the mission, if any. When setting up terrain features, the player should agree on the terrain traits of each part of it. If players are using terrain features in the configuration specified by the kill zone, the terrain traits will be specified. So for my money now for casual games, just like after my doors video, I now begin every episode on Octarius. Every episode? Gosh, every game I play on Octarius by saying, how do you want to play the doors, locked or unlocked? You know, I'm going to ask the same thing. How do you want to play the floor, light cover or not, right? And give my opponent the choice. And if they feel strongly one way or the other, we go with it. We'll go with it. Because I ultimately don't think this changes a lot about the game, as long as both players understand at the start of the game which way round they're going to play. And I refer you back to that doors video, the importance, people would argue, of having a coherent kind of, we're always going to do this and we're always going to do that. As long as you have the conversation before the game and everybody understands what is and isn't the case, not a huge problem. What I would hate to do is to be the novitiate player here and to be standing on the roof and to thinking that I have, let's say me and Zimbad always assign the roofs light, and we play loads of games and you play something you don't know, you get into the situation, I think I'm safe, the Death Guard player thinks that I can be shot, and in that moment, yeah, that's going to affect the game, and yeah, that's going to be a big heated conversation. As long as you decide it before you get into that situation, then I don't think it makes a massive difference. And it does remove a bit of that cognitive dissonance between, well, surely the floor should be, it's big and thick and metal. Then again, if you were fine with floors not providing cover before, maybe you're fine with them not providing cover now. I don't know if it makes the game better or not. It makes vantage points very powerful. But like I said in the previous video, there's a possibility that the ignore the FAQ people are wrong about what they presume Games Workshop were trying to solve, and Games Workshop are actually trying to make sniper type characters on vantage points more powerful to encourage people to take the various things that can change a sniper from being concealed to being treated as if it's engaged. That's also possible. So I've been through and I've explained to you the 3 different suggestions. I don't think there's anything else that you have any other way you could play or interpret these rules. I think those are the only 3 potential ways to play and interpret the rules. I'm really interested to know what it is that you think. Please go and vote in the community poll if you haven't already and you're watching this. And please share the video with your friends as well. I know I would say that because I want my channel to grow, but I think it's really important that people are aware of the issue, right? And that they have some consensus in their own minds and in their gaming groups to avoid ill feeling when they're in the middle of a game and they're playing against somebody that has different ideas than them. Forewarned is forearmed, and at least then you know that this is a little bit of a contentious issue, because I don't think we can wait for Games Workshop to solve the problem. If they solve the problem at all, like, do you want to wait for the next FAQ in 3 months' time, which by then Gallo Dark will be out, so Games Workshop probably won't care so much about vantage points and things? Or, you know, the other possibility, which is that they're on it and they've already seen all the conversation, and maybe Elliot's penned another really nice vantage point article that will explain everything, and then the powers that be that have said, great, that's going to go out in White Dwarf, so it's going to be published in about 6 to 8 months when nobody will care. Again, possible, right? I don't think we can wait for Games Workshop to give us an answer. I think as a community, we just need to be aware of the issue and kind of decide in your little groups and societies and clubs how are you going to play it. Yeah, I have a preference for using the rules, and yeah, if you want to decide the floors grant cover or not, I don't really care. I think my mild preference would be that they do grant cover, I guess. But then I play a team with a sniper in, so you know, I hope I can stop talking about this now. I've got loads of other content planned. I want to make a video about the different secondaries, potentially before they get replaced, right? Going through all of those. Obviously, I'm going to keep going through the Kill Team Rundown series. I'm supposed to be painting my Horus Heresy for the Horus Heresy slow grow, but it's too hot to do anything. And yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you have a great day, whatever it is you're doing. Last time the video was about 5 minutes longer, but I've had to re-record all the sound, and I can't think about what else it is that I wanted to say. So I guess I'll say cheerio. Have a great day, whatever you are doing. Bye bye.